Welcome back to the flip side of adversity. I am your host, Dr. Virdra Jackson, and I'm so excited that we are celebrating Sweet 16 season. Can you believe it? 16 seasons of truth telling, of healing, and flipping the script on what it means to rise through adversity. And we're kicking off things with a big conversation right to the heart of National Black Business Month with a powerful, necessary conversation for sisters. What if you traded imperfection for your peace? Let's be real. So many of us have worn the cape, carried the title, chased the bag, all while our soul stays silent in the backseat. But this season, we're actually rewriting the story. This episode is for the high achiever who's actually exhausted, the leader who has silently been breaking, and the woman who's ready to finally exhale. It's time to stop surviving and start living. So grab your journal, grab your tea, or actually just breathe, because the flip side is here and we're ready to get started. Trauma, toxic stress, broken habit, and hurting heart don't define destiny, but peace isn't passive. It requires an exchange. To create a flip and access peace in the middle of the pieces, you are challenged to make an exchange of the lies that have kept you mentally hostage in basement moments. Resilience isn't about bouncing back, but bouncing forward. Living strong, the flip side of adversity, brings powerful stories and fearless conversations from experts in the field of business, relationships, emotional, physical, and mental health, and faith-based communities. Each episode creates a brave space with powerful tools from authentic connections. Tune in as we dig in with Dr. Jackson on the flip side of adversity. Hello. Welcome again to our season 16. I have been able to get some rest. I'm rejuvenated. I am back, and there is no better conversation to come right off of vacation and begin to have. And no better person than Dr. Rhonda Alexander, who is going to break it down for us. Yes, for you, for me, the high achiever, the Black woman who is carrying and doing all the things. Well, we're going to talk about it all tonight. But before we get started on our conversation, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Rhonda. Dr. Rhonda Alexander is a transformational speaker, award-winning author, and founder of 3 dynamic companies: Uvo Consulting, E Squared Coaching, and Soul Scribe. They all empower leaders to turn their knowledge into impact. With over 30 years of experience in science, strategy, and leadership, she blends faith, scholarship, and real-world insight to guide high-achieving women from survival to self-reclamation. Creator of The Haven, Dr. Rhonda is fiercely committed to helping Black women release toxic strength, and rebuild with truth, joy, and overflow. So when she named this episode, The Strength That Broke Me, right? Something along those lines. That powerful conversation, because sometimes talking about being the strongest person in the room can become a detriment And so that line, toxic strength. Oh, I can't wait for us to get into it. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rhonda Alexander.
Thank you so very much for having me on the show, Deirdre. I am super excited to have this conversation with you. I know most people can identify with those two words, toxic strength. So I want to talk about it today. I want us to identify it, call it out, so we can get rid of it and replace it with something else.
Yes, 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 and yes. And so, as I shared at the top of the queue, that we're having a conversation at in the middle, the heart of National Black Business Month, and you are an entrepreneur three times over. And I wanted to kind of start the conversation with, as you've built three incredible businesses, what was the pivotal moment that first awakened your calling to entrepreneurship?
I was it was my first job out of college. I was I got hired early in the year, and summertime came around. And I looked around and I went, "No summer break? We have to still come to work. It's summertime. What are we-" And I was like, and I have to do this until I'm 60. And at that time, I was in my early 20s. I might have been 23-ish or so. I was like, I gotta this is until I'm 60. I have to do this. And then something clicked in me and said, "No, baby girl, no, we can't do this. This is not for us." And I knew, first of all, that I did not want to be punching a clock
Mm,
from graduation date all the way to retirement. I knew that wasn't for me. And I also started to realize throughout my time in that position, I was driving my bosses crazy because I always had these ideas of things I wanted to do and the ways I wanted to do business better and different. And I was creating systems and thinking of they gave me a whole department. I was driving them so crazy. They gave me an entire department to build. Now, this is fresh out of college. I'd
wow.
never done that before. But as a thinker and as an innovator, I was always thinking up some way to do business better or
Mm,
different. And that let me know that I could do this for myself. I could do this on my own. And I thought about, at that time, this was in the late 90s. So entrepreneurship wasn't made to be as sexy as it is kind of now. You know, everybody
mm,
thinks that they're an entrepreneur now. I really didn't know much about it. I just kind of had this sense that there's something that I can do for me outside of working for somebody else and making somebody else's dreams come true, making somebody else rich. I can take all of the money that I'm making, that I'm generating, put all of that into my bank account, and have that all benefit me. So it was very, very, very early on in my professional
mm.
career that I realized that employee life was not for me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very long after that thought that I launched my first business. And I worked that job and had a business for a very long time until I eventually went full time in that business as a graphic designer in 2004.
Wow. Sometimes when we have so many talents and we're multi talented, we're the innovator, we're the creative in the space, some side effects of that can creep in with perfectionism, people pleasing, always grinding. Those can become byproducts of being the one that is the most innovative and
Mhm.
creative in the space, and we're showing up so much for even our business, which is our baby, that we
Yeah,
begin to lose sight of the toll that that grind can take on us. And you have had a journey in which you've discovered that that grinding, being the strongest one, always being the one, isn't the way to get
right.
to a place of happiness. Can you break that the moments in which you really realized that you needed to make a pivot?
Absolutely. I talk about this in the book that I just released this past March called Seven Dirty Secrets of a Strong Black Woman. And in the very beginning of that book, I share this breakdown that I had.
Mm.
And it was probably what they would have called back in the 70s and 80s a nervous breakdown. I don't know if you remember nervous breakdown.
Yes.
But I found myself in a significant panic attack.
Mm.
I couldn't get it together. And by the time I gathered my wits about me and kind of cried it out and kind of burned myself out of that moment, looking back and trying to figure out how did I end up on the floor in tears, hyperventilating, wondering if I'm gonna die alone in this house, right? Um, and I discovered that I had been living a dual life. I had been
Mm.
carrying exactly what you named, self sacrificing, being there for everybody all the time, every day, with a smile
Mm.
on your face, whether you want to be there or not. Um, People pleasing, making sure everybody else is happy, even if I was miserable, and living with imposter syndrome, right? Showing up
Mhm.
and feeling like everybody is looking at me. I'm trying to prove that I deserve to be in these spaces, that I deserve to be heard, and that I'm as much of a professional and a thought leader as everyone else. And I'm carrying around these things secretly,
Yeah.
showing up in my life as
Yeah.
an expert. People are going, oh my gosh, you have this amazing life and you're accomplishing all of these things. But behind the scenes, I didn't feel the same way. I felt very much um, intimidated,
Mm.
afraid of rejection, really striving for validation and trying to feel like that I was worthy of the accolades, worthy of the things that people saw in me, that I could not at the time genuinely see in myself. I just was trying to earn that validation and earn my way to that acceptance. And carrying all of that secretly and carrying trauma of being heartbroken and being betrayed by friends and losing relationships and just never talking about those things, right?
Mm.
Because we're taught you time heals all wounds. You'll be fine. Just keep going. Just put it on your back and just keep going. You'll be okay. And so we do, because anytime we don't, it's misinterpreted as weakness. We think if we can't carry it all, people are going to look at us and think something's wrong, or think we're incompetent, or think we're not capable. So we just secretly carry those things. Our hearts are broken, no problem. I'll deal with that later. Someone dies that's close to us. I don't have time to grieve. I've got to
Mm.
make sure everybody else is okay. That's our rhythm.
Mhm.
And so we show up to the funeral strong. We show up to, our friend circle after things have fallen apart behind the scene. Oh no, everything's okay. And we don't deal with, I'm literally shattered inside. I'm
Yes.
literally broken. I'm hurting. We don't give ourselves that permission. And so I started to discover that I was doing that.
Mm.
And as I was talking this through with other women, I started to discover I wasn't the only one. There were others who were doing the same thing. And then we discovered, as a demographic, we all do it.
Yeah.
And so I really started to look into more deeply why we are the way we are. But truly that was the eye opener for me to start
Mhm.
having these conversations and uh, for me to really start facilitating healing among Black women, because it wasn't just me. I discovered it wasn't just me, and that was a huge turning point.
And I'm literally sitting here feeling like, wow, she is directly talking to the soul of so many women who are listening to this episode. And the first thing that comes to mind that I know I've heard women say is, if I stop, I'm going to disappoint this person. Well, this person needs me. Or
Right.
I can't. If I don't do it, then no one's going to. What do you say to the women who are listening to your truth telling? What do you say to them in response to, but if I don't, I'm going to disappoint people?
One of the things that I was very afraid of is being considered a disappointment.
Mm.
And in my time of healing and therapy and really working through this, one of the things my therapist made me do was to put myself in a position to disappoint someone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I
But
can't.
not on purpose. Wait a
On
minute.
purpose? No. She's like, you need to feel that because you
Mhm.
are human and you will disappoint people.
Mhm.
They will disappoint you. That is part of the human experience. To think that you will never disappoint someone or that someone should never disappoint you is simply unreasonable.
Mm.
And so I am still, it's still very, very uncomfortable to feel like someone needed me or I could have done that. I should have done that. If nobody else is doing it, I hear that voice that says you can do it. You probably should. It's only going to take you a minute. Just do it anyway. And for me to speak back to that voice and say, no, this is not my lane. And if they just don't get what they need, then that's an area of growth for them.
Mhm.
One of the things I mentioned in the book and I talk about quite often is we rush to people's rescue. Um, Not realizing that sometimes when we do that, we're stunting their growth. We're keeping them from learning a lesson in solving their own problem. They need to learn how to go and figure out whatever it is that they need to know to solve their own problem. And one of the things I discovered is when you let people figure out their own stuff, they actually do. When you take a step back and leave it to, you say, oh, I'm just going to let the chips fall. You know what happens? Somebody manages to catch their own chips.
Yes,
Who
tell the truth.
knew?
Who knew?
You don't have to be the official chip catcher. They
Yes.
will catch their own chips. If you would just step back and mind your own race, drink your
Mm.
water, mind your own business, let people solve their own problems, you will be fascinated by the fact that they do. It
Mm.
all works out. And when it doesn't work out, that's not ownership that you have to
Right.
take.
Right.
If it doesn't work out, there's something there for them to learn, some way they get to grow and develop so that the next time this challenge comes along, they're better equipped. But
Yes.
you're not God. Let God do his thing, and you stay over there in your lane and do yours. And so, taking hands off, that has been a big area of growth for me. I am the fixer, I am the
Mm.
rescuer, I am Olivia Pope in my circle. Okay? It's handled,
Fix
right?
it.
I'm the fixer, and I'm not even going to wait for you
Mm.
to ask me to fix
Right.
it because I don't want you to be hurt. I want you to have a life of ease. I don't want to disappoint. I don't want you to experience any kind of disappointment or I want your life to be easy and I'm the person to make that happen.
Right.
What in the world? Who deemed me to be that person?
I'm feeling
Um,
exhausted just listening to it.
And there you have it. Absolutely exhausting, attending to everybody's everything all the time, and my stuff too. All because I don't want people to feel like if everything doesn't go well in their lives, they're going to experience disappointment or hurt or heartbreak.
Mhm.
They should.
Mhm.
They should.
The powerful opening part to your answer to this question that really resonated with me is sometimes we are running away from an emotion
Mhm.
that we actually need to learn how to feel.
Yeah.
And I think of women that I've had conversations with that they're literally running a race away from having to actually feel.
Yeah.
And once you start feeling, that actually is an opportunity for you to even know yourself better, to shift your relationship with yourself. And
Mhm.
as you said, create a whole new level of relationship with somebody else.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Very, very often, that's why we are the high achievers we are, because we're running from the feeling. We're
mhm,
proving something to ourselves as well, but we're running from dealing with how we actually feel, the trauma we've experienced, the betrayals, the
mhm,
heartbreak, and the grief. I don't want to feel that. So I'll surround myself with degrees and awards, and I'm no different. If you see behind me, there are 4 degrees on the when I tell you I am the living experiment for this. You're on every board, you've got a bunch of degrees, you're active at church, you're active in the community, you've got your kids going here and there, because as long as you're busy, you don't have to really be honest with yourself about how you feel. And
mhm.
when you sit still, it's kind of like you don't realize you're hungry until you start eating. When you finally sit still, your brain says, you're really hurt. Are you
Mm.
going to deal with the fact that you're actually hurt by what that person did to you? Are we going to do anything about? I don't have time to deal with that. Okay, what's the next thing? I need to write a book. I need to write a journal. I need a new offer. I don't have time for that. That's what we
Yes,
do,
yes.
because we're actually running from that very unpleasant feeling of rejection, very unpleasant feeling of grief, rather than letting the emotion be expressed, feeling it, embodying it for the period of time that it needs to be present in your body, and then letting it pass through you, learning whatever you need to learn from it, gain whatever you need to gain, but not allowing yourself to sit in it, but not avoiding it either.
Right.
Right? And I think a lot of us do exactly what you said. We are running from having to experience what we truly feel, to the extent that sometimes we don't really even know what those feelings are, whether it's grief or, we just call it depression. And I understand there is a chemical diagnosed depression,
Mhm,
and I'm not minimizing that at all. But there are some instances where we use that as an umbrella to to describe a state
mhm.
of a group of feelings, when we don't really have the word to say, I
Yes.
feel this way, disappointed, frustrated, I feel traumatized, I feel triggered. We don't always have that until somebody hears us and they go, you know what, I think what you're actually feeling is grief.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you haven't grieved the loss of this thing.
yeah,
And that thing will resonate you inside of you so deeply. You're like, I think you're right.
yeah.
I think what I really feel is a deep grief that I just haven't completely processed through. Well, now
Mhm.
that we know what that feeling is, now we can actually deal with it.
And in that process, you begin to discover that you are in some ways you're strong enough to actually handle that emotion. There's some
Yeah.
elements of that I feel like we're running from it because we think it's going to consume us or
Mhm.
take over. And when you allow yourself, and you said keyword, not only feel it, but process it so that you can release it, you
Yes.
begin to discover that I actually am strong enough to be able to process this thing through, that it's not going to shut me all down. Is there
Mhm.
something that surprised you about you as you really began to move through your healing journey?
Yeah, I think along those lines of what you just said, I always would tell myself, if I ever start crying about this, I don't think I'll stop. If I ever experience, if I ever let out how I feel, I don't know that I'll ever be able to stop, crying or whatever that emotion was. And at first, it really did. Once it started coming up, it really was intense. It very, very raw emotion. But there's something that happens when you allow yourself the freedom to experience that. And I think that's what surprised me, was that I'd never really allowed myself to be honest
Mm,
about what really hurt. I had said that breakup, I ain't need that dude no way. Nah, I'm good. You know, with lots of other colorful things that I went along with that. That friendship that broke, I'm fine, fine. Hater, whatever. We have this way,
we have those things, yes.
we have this way, right? And then when all of this happened, in talking about it in therapy, and even with talking about it with my mother, she was like, "Would you just be honest? This
Mm,
hurts." And okay, y- you're right.
yeah.
It surprised me that the emotion was still there. Things that I
Mm,
thought I did not feel were still there. There was trauma there that I actually wrote the first draft of the entire book. Um, I wrote the whole thing, and I was driving down the street, and I literally heard God said, "You're not done. There's
mm,
something you forgot." And I was like, "Something you forgot?" And I started thinking, go back to your childhood. And there was a trauma in my childhood, and I share that in the book. I completely closed that off,
mm,
forgotten about it. And I believe it's the trauma that opened the door for me to shut down and not communicate my feelings in all of the other situations that would be traumatic to me. But that was a surprise as well. I was like, "Oh my goodness,
mhm,
how could I forget that happened to me?" And the effect that that had on me. So in processing, how did I get here? It's not just open the book and hear all the things. There was such a appealing, such, this all these layers of things that I had experienced. And then you kind of trace it all back to, here's where it started. Now, how do I handle what I feel about this? And in when that memory came up for me, and talking it through, I realized it wasn't the memory that caused me trauma. I had no feelings about really what had happened to me, which is why I don't think I thought about it initially. Where the trauma was my reaction to it. I just decided, I'm not a victim, and I never have to talk about this again. And that silence, that pattern of suppressing and putting it away, suppressing and putting it
mm,
away, that's where it started for me. So the surprise was, it's not just that you put on, because that's what, women do. There was something that happened that you needed to go back and look at and heal from and see how that has infiltrated every other area of your life. And let's deal with that thing rather than
Right.
dealing with all these symptoms. Let's get down
Yes.
to the root cause.
And I feel like you just exposed something for women who are listening. We've got Dr. Martin, Dr. Daniel Martin, who is like, it's okay to feel. We don't give ourselves permission. Esther is saying, allow yourself to feel and process the emotion. This is a very real conversation. And in some respects, it also ties to that catchphrase of putting on the mask. We'll put on a mask to try to pretend like that isn't going to affect me, or I'm not going to allow other people to know, or I'm good, I'm okay. And I put on the mask and keep on going, but our body keeps score and
Mhm.
our emotions and the pain will chase us down.
Oh my
Can you
goodness.
talk about taking off the mask?
Yes, absolutely. That mask
Mm.
allows us to pretend that we are something that we're not, and not in your professional life. It allows us to pretend that we are okay, healed, whole, all the good stuff, right? Even, in our saying, now I'm blessed and highly favored, all the stuff that we like to
All
say.
the things, all the
Things.
things.
Um, but we do that because we know if somebody says to you, girl, how are you really? Done. Done. I don't know, maybe some folks on the that are watching now have had their mother or their best friend call and you, how are you today? Oh girl, I'm great. Girl, how are you really? That's
Right?
open the floodgates. And so we don't want to have the conversation for any number of reasons. You may not think people care. You may not want to get into it because it's just the laundry list of things that are going wrong. There are a number of reasons I'm hiding. I don't want to be that vulnerable. I have to pretend. If I take how I really feel into work and people see the reality of my emotional state, I'd scare people off, or they would think something is wrong with me. So I can't let that happen. I can't let people see me cry. If something happened and I go to work, they're gonna be like, wow, she's so strong. Her mother just died, and look, she's here, and she's so strong. No, I'm hurting. I'm broken, but I
Yes.
I can't show you that because to not hear that means, oh, she's something other than amazing, right?
Mm,
And we don't want to hear that. We don't want to display that. That mask is our protection. It is the wall that we put up, that we don't let people come behind, and we don't come out from behind it. It
mhm,
is the safe place that we create.
mm.
But the challenge is when we create that safe space that is so protected, when we find that we need people, there's nobody.
There's no one. And then we're
And
frustrated.
and then we're frustrated because we want people in, but we don't want to let them in. And
Mhm.
we want to let them in, but we only want to let them in so far. And so then when things go off the rails, they're like, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" One of the things I share in my book, when I had this breakdown afterward, my therapist actually was like, "I need to call your parents. I
Mm,
this You are in trouble. I need to alert your circle, your village." So I allowed her to call my mother, and my they came over that day. My parents live 5 minutes from my home. My dad sat in here, right in that couch behind me, and said, "I can't believe we live right up the
mm,
street." And I had no idea that you were dealing with this. I had no idea. And I see them all the time. We have family dinners on a regular basis. We hang out. I go over, we church, and I see them all the time. And he was like, I can't believe I didn't know. We have gotten so good at
mm.
putting on that mask.
Mm,
that
mm,
the
mm,
people closest to us, even the folks in our
mm,
homes,
mm, mm.
don't always know what we're dealing with. And so my goal is to help women find the safe places to
Yes.
take off the mask. Because we all code switch, right? Every place isn't a safe place for you to just be who you are. I can respect that. But there have to be some places,
Yeah.
and the space I created is called the Haven. There have to be some places where you can just be. If today
Mm,
you're broke, busted, and disgusted, then that's just what you are. You are high powered, $1 million CEO, and today all you can manage to do is eat bonbons in your pajamas and binge watch TV because you've just had it with the world. You need a space to do that without anybody going, "What's wrong with you?"
mhm.
We
No
have to be
judgment.
able to not use that mask as our first line of defense.
Yeah.
To use it where it's needed, but to find those safe places to take it off. I think that's super important.
It absolutely is. And you actually have segued into an opportunity for us to share uh, a new project that Yvonne Richardson and myself have launched. It is launching tomorrow. If you've followed me on social media, if you are just hearing this for the first time, we're actually going to invite you to become a part of Soul Sisters. Watch this. Hey, sis, are you ready to walk into your healing? Join us tomorrow at 7 a.m. for the very first Soul Sisters Walking Meetup, a supportive group walking in community for Black women where all of the levels of fitness are welcome. We're kicking things off on Struble Trail near Planet Fitness in Downingtown, PA. And we're not just walking, we're healing, we're growing, and getting honest about the truth that, you know what? Sometimes we're not okay, and we're not staying there. Every walk is powerful. It is a connection to the blog by Dr. Shonda McMinnis. 10 minutes of inspiration in your ear, followed by meaningful conversations that pour into your spirit. Bring your walking shoes, your cell phone, and your earbuds, and a positive spirit. We're building a weatherproof life, one step at a time. We're soul sisters, and we're walking through it all together. So that's Soul Sisters. And if you're in the PA area, we would love for you to connect with us. We're going to be moving around in different places, different trails, different areas, because we want to, just as Dr. Rhonda just shared, create a space for honest conversation. If you're not okay, it's okay to talk about it. Creating a space while we are moving our bodies, having authentic conversations in partnership with Dr. Shonda McMinnis to be able to be honest about what's impacting us, especially as Black women. And our first walk, our first topic tomorrow is I am not your superwoman. So I hope you will take off the cape and join us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. But Dr. Rhonda, I want you to tell us more about the Haven.
Absolutely, I'd love to. And let me just say, the idea of walking your way to healing, I love that Soul Sisters project. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great way for people. It's not sitting at a table looking at a stranger. It's walking. So you've got nature and you've fresh air and sunshine and people who are all together for a similar purpose. I know why you're here. You know why I'm here. We need each other. We need this connection. It is a wonderful way to build community. And so I wish I could be there because I mean I'm not much of like a walker. Um, but I think it would be just so much fun to be out there with
Mm,
other women who think the way that I
mhm,
think,
mhm,
and who want to grow and heal. So I created the Haven kind of similarly. The Haven was birthed right after the presidential election. I noticed that there
mhm,
was like this mental fog I was in afterward, and I was like, this is really weird. it, I've been through presidential elections where my candidate didn't win. Okay, fine. And as I was talking to girlfriends and I was scrolling through LinkedIn and scrolling online, other places, and there was like this kind of general sentiment. We were all kind of in this foggy funk. And so I just pulled some ladies together. I said, "Hey, we got to figure out what's happening here."
mhm.
And I just started saying, we need a haven. We need a haven. So we had this first Zoom meeting. It was about 30 women on the call. And we were just talking about how we felt. And we couldn't quite put our finger on it. And one of the ladies on the call said, we're triggered. The problem is we're triggered. And we all went, you might be
Yeah.
right. She said, we just had it thrown in our faces what
Yes.
we have experienced in corporate, what we
Mhm.
have experienced much of our professional lives. You are you've done all you showed up for your team, right? You showed up to
Yes.
help everybody out, to save the people. They rejected you. You had a great idea. You came overqualified, the
Yes.
best person for the job, and they looked at you in your face and said, oh, we got your back, and then went behind your back and did something completely different. They came in, they were like, oh, you had an idea, and then they chose somebody else who wasn't qualified at all.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
like, okay, all of these things, all of those little microaggressions, macro in some cases, that we had experienced as a demographic, we were all kind of triggered, realizing that it doesn't matter how many accolades I have.
Mm.
You, you're going to choose somebody else. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So fine. Now we check out. Now we're about us. Now we're taking care of ourselves. Y'all have it. You guys can work it out. You guys can deal with the outcome of your actions. We're going to be over here, learning our line dances, drinking our water, and minding our business.
Yes.
And so the Haven is a space that I created to continue that healing space for high achieving, high net worth Black women who are like, you know what? I'm not going to keep dropping everything for everybody anymore. And then when I need somebody to look out for me, there's no one there. I'm not going to keep doing that. I'm going to spend time looking at my needs. I'm going to start making time to take care of myself. I'm going to say no sometimes. I'm going to start creating and enforcing healthy boundaries. I'm not going to kill myself taking care of you and looking out for you anymore. Okay?
Yes.
I am these women are learning to self prioritize, to reprioritize their needs, their desires, their vision, their goals, and learning how to say no, learning that I don't reward myself with rest. I tell people all the time, if rest was good enough for God, why would you think it's not good enough for you? You don't have to earn rest. It is
Right.
a part of your life, a part of your methodology, a part of who should be a part of who you are. But a lot of times we sacrifice our rest and our peace so that others can have what they need and what they desire.
Yeah.
And collectively, we saw that that really doesn't get us anywhere. And so now we spend that time supporting one another. And so we do that much like the Soul Sisters walk. It will do. We do that in an online forum, where we spend time supporting each other, encouraging each other. And there are high powered, very influential women who come into that,
Mhm.
that group and say, y'all, today I just cannot. I,
Yes.
I'm sick of the people. I'm sick of these kids. They just go, they go all the way off, right? And we have to have that
Yeah.
because to be productive, to be able to be out there and at my best, and to bring my vision to life, I can't bleed all over the people, but
Right.
I have to have a place where I have release and relief, and where somebody says, "Girl, I understand. Not, it's gonna be okay. Get out there and give them hell." No,
Mm-hmm.
girl, I get it. Come on in here, get some love, get loved on, vent, and then go on back out and do what you got to
Mm-hmm.
do. And there are people who have expressed that how much of a lifeline the Haven has been for them.
When I listen to just your plain out honesty, because I literally was on a plane November 6th, heading to Costa Rica, and the heaviness that was on my soul, and if I had not had the sisters, the sorors, who, when I landed, we were all feeling the same
Mhm.
thing, and so we had an entire week. Out of the country to be able to just be honest with one another on how it has impacted us. And when I listen to how you have healed, how you have identified a way to be so intentional in touching the lives of other Black women, you combine compliance, coaching, and publishing all together in your businesses, and it feels like such a rare combination. How do you actually integrate those three things into the work that you do, and then you have the audacity to also connect that to faith and scholarship? I'm intrigued. Can you break this down for us?
Well, my zone of genius is strategy. I am a strategist at heart, and all that's the common thread between all of them. With my consulting work, we help companies all over the world get medical devices and drugs approved by the FDA and into the market in the U.S. So we help them with that regulatory strategy. And then I also work with leaders to help them, create the strategy to grow in their business, grow in their careers. So we plot a plan forward for them. And it's the same with publishing, growing a business, using that book, writing the book, and then using the book to create additional revenue for your business, and not just selling the book as a one off, but really taking that book and leveraging it to make 5 and 6 figures in your business. So the thread around it all is strategy. Now the faith part, I just love Jesus, and so He's in all of it.
I
all
know
listen,
that's right.
all of this is Jesus' fault, because Rhonda really just would be on the couch kind of chilling if it wasn't for him. But so faith, all of that, an entrepreneur walk, as I'm sure you well know,
Mm-hmm.
is a faith walk, whether you believe in Jesus or not. To take an idea that you just cooked up one day
Mm-hmm.
and to say, I'm going to make a living off of this, I'm going to make a difference in the world off of this.
Yeah.
It is a faith walk.
Mm-hmm.
It is believing in yourself, definitely believing in a higher power. And for me, that is Jesus Christ. And then when it comes to scholarship, my mother is a educator, 40 years. I've come from a long line of educators. My parents are pastors, and so I just am one of those people. I feel like before I can really be of use in a particular role, I want to make sure, first of all, that I'm sanctioned by God, that He has told me this is what you need to be doing. Then I'm going to go and get some information and make sure that I am legit at what I say I do, that I know how to effectively do what I do, and not that I just did something a couple of times and then kind of hung a little title on it, and
Mm-hmm.
now I can
Mm-hmm.
monetize it. Um,
Which
no
is
shade, but
so
shade.
social media. That is so social media. I don't want to go
No
down a
shade, but
rabbit
shade.
hole, but that has been Like every post that's coming out, oh, you don't need any experience. Just get out and
Yeah.
do
Love
this
it.
and make 5 figures, make 6 figures. You don't need any experience. And something in my soul, when I see those, I'm like, but do you know what you are talking about? Have you lived it? Have you studied it? Are you coming with some kind of credentials or creds to
Not at
be
all.
talking about it?
Not at all. This sounded like I asked ChatGPT for some ideas. Sounded like a great idea. Let's go. And I'm like, but the beautiful thing is that boom is kind of it's starting to die down. But I totally agree that the generation or this kind of season where people have you know thought I can just take any idea and monetize it and it's going to be successful. I have found the most success in helping people
Mhm.
from my area of expertise, doing what I know to do well. And somehow in there, it's always strategy. I have a way, God has blessed me to have a way to be able to hear people's chaos, their chaotic thoughts, their chaotic ideas. I want to do this thing, that thing. I made this, I made that, and I want to, but ultimately I want to go here. And I can hear all of that stuff. And whether it's their FDA strategy and getting a product on the market, building a business, writing a book, publishing a book, whatever wherever you put me, if you give me chaos, some kind of a way I can come back to you and say, okay, here are how the pieces all fit together. And here's how you should make your next move. And this is how you should move. If you want to get there, here's what you need to do. And sometimes, because I know this is a gift, there are times I'm hearing myself and I'm going, girl,
That was good.
I'm very, very thankful for the gift, but that is what has been helped me to be successful over the years, in so many varied disciplines. I started out my degree is in molecular biology. My undergrad degree is in molecular biology. I have a master's in clinical chemistry and public administration. Like I have all of these crazy degrees, and then my first business was graphic design. And website design because that's just what I enjoyed doing at the time and it was a boom and it was working for me, but it still was the same thing. I was really
Mhm.
starting to refine and hone my strategic mind. People would come to me with their ideas for their online presence, and I could build that strategy and their website, and they were thrilled, and that has just been the theme and the thread through my life. So it does seem like a pretty colorful mosaic, but somehow God has made it all work together, and it's come to be something that's very, very beautiful.
And I hear the echo through all of it. Your gift, you identify the gift of strategy and being able to identify how you could leverage that gift in multiple ways
Yeah.
in and also be able to monetize it. And as we come to a close to our conversation, before you talk about this amazing project, I know that there are going to be, just because of the people who follow the show, there are multiple entrepreneurs who listen to the show. And as we are in the throes of National Black Business Month, as a strategist, can you talk to the entrepreneur, whether they are a veteran or they're a newcomer? What are 3 things that you feel in today's time, in today's climate, three
Hmm.
things that you would say to an entrepreneur today that they really need to be clear about or more aware of?
Absolutely. I would say one of the things that you need to be really clear on is why you're doing what you're doing, because there we have some uncertain times, we're in uncertain times, and there are some ahead, and there will be times when your revenue expectations and outcomes and your desires don't look like what you want them to look like, and you really have to know why you're in this. If you're just in it for the money, you might need an alternative. because there are going to be some seasons where you will have to do more than just generate revenue. Another thing I would tell you is find a community of entrepreneurs who support you, who understand the journey of the entrepreneur, who understand your challenges and don't just go, oh, honey, that'll be fine. Everything's going to work out. You really want people who understand what it means to be on this journey. And the final thing I would say to you is don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on what you're assigned to do. Don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on your business. Continue to invest in your business. Continue to invest in yourself, whether that means still getting coaching, whether that means still going to classes and or getting certifications or whatever it matters to you for your business. Don't give up on you. There will be a return on the investments that you make in this period. So while time is down and if business slows down a little bit, don't become discouraged. Use that time to build and to think and to strategize. Find a good coach, find books in your discipline, whatever you can do to continue to grow and invest, even while it may seem slow. Don't give up on yourself. Those are the three things I would encourage you to do.
Words of wisdom and encouragement. And from your place of expertise, you've kind of given us a little bit of nuggets here and there about your new project, but can you really tell us about your newest project and what's on the horizon for you?
Absolutely. So, as I've mentioned, I just released a book, Seven Dirty Secrets of a Strong Black Woman. We've been talking about the contents of the book our entire talk. So, if you want to know what the book is about, you already know. The wonderful thing is, you get to go on the journey as I share with you some of the experiences in my life that contributed to these seven secrets that I was carrying around that no one knew about. They didn't know what was going on behind that mask that we just talked about, right? And so I write about that. Not only do I share that, but I talk about how I healed, what some of the steps I took to actually have a healing journey. And I share that with you so that as things come up for you, as you read the book, you will not only be enlightened about what you have been through and what your secrets might be, but you also have a way to start rethinking how you can heal, how you can become whole, and to start giving your feelings and your experiences the language that it needs, that you can say, this is how I feel. This is what I've been through. And hopefully that will help you as you grow and as you heal on your own journey. So if that's something that you are is that if that's part of the journey you're on and you want to read the book, it's very easy to get. Really, you can download it from just about everywhere, Barnes and Noble, iTunes, lots of places, but the easiest place to go is 7dirtysecrets.net. Very easy, the number 7dirtysecrets.net. And also, I mentioned not giving up on yourself. If one of the things that you want to do is to work with a coach that's going to help you get a strategy that will keep you solvent and keep you moving forward during this uncertain times, I would love to have a chat with you. Very easy. Meet with drrhonda.net and you'll get access to my calendar. You don't even have to have an interview. Just go to that link, click a date, and I would love to have a chat with you. So those are the two ways I think people can really dive in and have kind of the next part of this conversation.
Such a wealth of knowledge, integrity to the work, and just authenticity. And I feel like women who have been suffering from imposter syndrome, women who have been trying to be superwoman for everybody
Yeah.
except themselves, and that woman who is sitting quiet and is not making any noise, but she's in pain. You've spoken to all of them and even challenge the ones who are already on a healing journey to
Mhm.
continue to stay there. And so,
Yeah.
Dr. Rhonda, thank you so much for being a part of our opening season to Sweet 16. And we're continuing to launch this new season with continued healing stories. And if you know someone who has been trying to be superwoman for everybody, make sure you share this episode with her. Make it a gift. Give her permission to prioritize herself. And if you're in the PA area and you want to become a part of Soul Sisters, please check us out. Go to Messenger, let me know you're interested, and I'll make sure you get connected. Well, there you have it. Our first episode right out the gate of season 16, and it has been fire. I know it's been fire for me, so I know it's been fire for you. And I encourage you, same time, same place, right here next week on the flip side. We'll see you then.